We will call the meeting of the Selkirk Fire District Joint Powers Board to order at 2:03 p.m. We're just a couple of minutes late starting today, and we have present Kate McAllister, primary board member representing City of Sandpoint, Jim Woodward, primary board member representing Sago Fire District, and Will representing Westside Fire District. Chief, since this is your last meeting as chief, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any board announcements? Any staff announcements? Chief, do you want to give us an update on the new chief coming in and what that schedule looks like?
Yeah, I'm picking Chief Gilcrease up at around 10 o'clock Friday morning, bringing him back here and sticking him in this car. That's about what I know where I'm taking him other than here. The plan is we'll see what he's doing on Friday. Like I said, I'm not sure what his living situation is, what his intentions are for Friday, but he's going to be here Monday morning. I'm going to work with him Monday and Tuesday, getting turnover with him. Going to focus on the banking stuff. I want to hit right off the bat, so we get him on the west side and Sago accounts, get me off, get all that transferred, and then just fill in the time with operational type of stuff. Then I'm out of here.
So I need to schedule a swearing in for him either Monday or Tuesday. Do you have a preference?
I think Monday would be better.
Okay.
As soon as possible. Get
All right.
sworn in.
Do you want to let him know that will be coming up on Monday, or do you want me to send him a message?
I can do it.
Okay.
Either way.
All right, perfect. Okay, moving on to the approval of the meeting minutes. This is an action item, and these are the minutes from the first JPA board meeting from July 22nd.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes and the minutes are approved. Under old business, our first item under old business is kind of generally an update on memorandum of understanding to affiliate with Bonner County EMS. Chief.
Yeah, so at the last Sago board meeting, we lost our quorum. So the Sago board wasn't able to take action on the agenda item for the basically taking Sago to the ILS provider level to the BLS provider level. So as it stands right now, obviously the union is in opposition to that. They spoke against dropping. They will continue to speak in opposition to dropping to the IL or the BLS level rather. I believe the direction the Sago board was likely headed, had they been able to maintain their quorum, as I believe that motion would have passed, and they would have made a motion to drop to the BLS level. I think the city of Sandpoint, I don't think that's really a question. I think that'll go to the BLS level. If that happens, then I have sent Jeff Lindsay a partial, I guess you want to say, a memorandum of understanding for their input on roles and responsibilities for Selkirk and Bonner County EMS. I just sent that to him, so we'll see what kind of input he has on that. However, if the Sago board chose to not go to the BLS level and they maintained an ILS agency provider level, then there really is no point to a MOU with Bonner County EMS, and all of the Selkirk staff will just affiliate jointly with Sagal like they do now. I think Sagal's in question with Matt Linscott resigning. And I think so far we've only got Ms. Lewis is the only one that's, Geraldine is the only one that's submitted a letter of interest. I don't know what her position is. She seems to, I think she was tending to agree with the union's position. So, and we didn't have Tom there either. So I really don't know where that motion will go. And the chief, maybe he's got a different take on things too. So it's hard to say. But anyway, as it stands right now, there's an MOU out there that I gave to Lindsay for his input on what they would want to define as their roles and responsibilities.
So is Sagal the only entity that has the ILS status?
Sagal and Sandpoint do, Westside is BLS.
Okay.
Chief, is the Ms. Lewis, did you say, is that Geraldine Lewis?
Geraldine, yes.
Okay. I mean, I know her pretty well, so I don't know that she would vote against it.
I don't know. She seems to nod in agreement a lot with what the union says. So I don't know where she stands on this. And so we shall see.
Okay.
Well, you shall see.
And so is there an expiration date with the ILS agreement then?
The both, I think all three agencies are due to re-up their licensure next month. And so obviously Westside would stay BLS. And it's my understanding that I think the city would agree to go to BLS. And that does not seem to be a point of contention with the union, the city. It's the Sagal Fire District that the union membership really wants to maintain that out there. I don't think it's needed, but that's where it is. That's where it's set. So if I'll wait to see, we'll wait to see what Jeff Lindsay has to say about the MOU and what they want to define as their basically, I want to identify the responsibilities of each agency as far as maintaining the licensure, and we need to define the who's going to be responsible for training records, and make it clear that the costs for the licensure updates and stuff are still ours. Bonner County is not going to want to pick that up, that kind of stuff.
So from an operational standpoint, though, based on the recommendation and the concurrence for the last meeting, the operational response right now is to ALS calls only unless called by
That is
EMS.
correct. That's what we are doing. We're only responding to ALS responses unless requested otherwise.
All three,
All three
Entities.
agencies are doing that.
could Sagal maintain their license and as a policy not respond in case things changed?
Yeah, we can do that. And that's what we're doing now. The issue with maintaining the ILS level of licensure is the equipment that they have to purchase and maintain every year that essentially we throw in the garbage. It does not get used. And I think most of the stuff that that perhaps would make a difference, the epinephrine and glucagon, things like that, or not glucagon, epinephrine, and some of those other drugs that would be considered more life-saving, they could still carry, and they're cheap. It's getting rid of the glucagon and the IO needles and the IO drills and things, interosseous drills. Those things are expensive and we don't use them. We don't need them. The cheap drugs that we carry, we could continue to carry those, and they could continue to administer those as intermediate EMTs under affiliation with Bonner County EMS, and they've agreed to do that. So we just need to get all that in writing. And then it eliminates our need to carry that extra equipment that essentially is.
And that's part of the
Unnecessary.
MOU with EMS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't spell out the drugs and stuff. That's. My focus was more on affiliating our people with their agency licensure and the training, the financial end of it, that kind of stuff. And there's, yeah, that's pretty much it.
So other than, so by dropping down the level of licensure, it takes away the requirement to carry
All
certain
that
medical
stuff.
equipment and devices, but it doesn't take away the ability to carry those things by choice, voluntarily.
Right, for most of it, because all of our intermediate EMTs have essentially, they've all had the training, and so they can become, they'll stay intermediate EMTs. The agency licensure would drop to the basic EMT level, but because our guys have had that training with the medical director's consent, they could have authorization to administer those drugs as an option. We don't have to carry them. And so we would eliminate the expensive stuff that really, in the end, doesn't change patient outcome. And that's really the IO drills, where they put the needle in the bone and instead of the vein, and the glucagon, which is for the diabetic. When you can't get an IV started, it just goes into the muscle and it releases glucose from the liver. And so patient can regain consciousness, but quite frankly, it's hard on the body, it's hard on your liver to force that glucose out. And so I think the patient in the end is really better off with good airway management by the EMS and wait for a provider to get there to give them IV if our guys can't get it, or an IO if they have to. Anything's better than glucagon, I think.
So what is the downside to dropping the licensure? Is it the dependency then on Bonner County EMS?
I think that's where the union really has their biggest opposition is they would be dependent on them. They would have to most likely submit their training records to Bonner County EMS for their approval, so that they're opposed to that. And then there are also the people that would just be opposed to it because they don't want some of their tools taken away. The IO needles and the glucagon, they feel that it's, if it costs $500, $1,000 a year, that's a small price to pay out of the $1.5 million budget they've got. It doesn't matter. And so they're not concerned about the financial end of it. And they just want more tools in the toolbox, but I just don't feel they're necessary. And it's not going to change the patient outcome. And there's also, in the other part of it, there is also the this competition turf war between Bonner County EMS and some of the agencies. And I think this just continues it. There's people in the department that are still of the mindset that they want to take over EMS. They don't trust Bonner County EMS. It's just this point of contention. And I think by dropping to the BLS level and basically not stocking a couple items is going to demonstrate to the EMS that we're really not here to take over your system. It's a little bit of good faith, and it saves us a little bit of money. It really doesn't take away our operational level, our readiness or anything. It just, we have to work with Bonner County EMS a little bit, and there's individuals in the fire department that don't want to do that.
Well, and it was redundant cost to the taxpayer too, right? That's
It
what we
is.
discussed as well.
It
so,
is.
yeah.
We're stocking stuff, they stock it, and honestly, both of us throw a lot of it in the trash.
Right. And EMS can no longer reimburse.
They do not reimburse us for anything. And that's the other end of that. As Chief Lindsay talked to Jennifer and I, they won't reimburse us for even gloves because they think we're providing a redundant service, and they can't distinguish between the redundant part of it and the rest of it. So if we weren't providing care at the ILS level, then they'd be more willing to provide us with some of that equipment like gloves and masks and stuff. That's what he indicated in that meeting.
Well, my understanding was that if we responded to ALS calls and used any type of medical equipment, they would reimburse us for that. Or if there was a case on a BLS or an ILS where they called in and asked us to assist, and then we ended up using equipment, they would reimburse for that.
Yeah, that's on scene. That's like a bag valve mask or something, or AED pads, for the defibrillator on scene, they would do that. But in the past, what they've done is we need gloves. We order a case of gloves. They would pay for it and they'd get shipped to us. They stopped all that. So now we're ordering the gloves ourselves and we don't get reimbursed. So, and they would likely continue to provide us with those things like gloves and stuff. So that's an additional savings on top of just the drugs.
Any other questions?
So, yeah.
We'll move that item forward to our
Yeah,
next
so
meeting
it's-
for another update.
Yeah, so it's basically the MOU is here. Jeff Lindsay's got it. We'll see what his input is, and we'll see what the Sagal board does at their next meeting, if they want to agree to drop to the ILS or drop to the BLS or maintain their ILS. If they stay ILS, then we just need to forget about the MOU and we'll just affiliate everybody through Sagal.
Okay.
I don't think that'll happen. But
All right. Moving on to financial report. So this will be our first financial report since we're in our shared system. So
All right, I'm going to start first with the different stations. We initially took over employees at the end of June. So our first pay period that we started actually paying all the different firefighters was in July. So I started this part of the summary as of July. So for July and August, I just separated out the different stations. I have a lot more detail, but right now I just have salaries, overtime, and benefits as a whole. As an overview for you guys, please let me know if you want more detail, what you're looking for, if anything more in these. This is, like I said, at a high level by station. We have billed, as in Sandpoint has billed both Sagal and Westside for the July billings already. For these expenses, the August billings will be coming out very shortly. So you may have seen them or will see them on your next packets or your next meetings. So that's just high level again. I can in the future, if we want, have this for the and put it actually in the packet. So it's really what you guys are wanting, if anything more on here.
I think in the packet would be good. I know this month you were trying to pull it together and determine what it was that
Yeah.
the board really wanted to see. So
What I kind of envisioned, what I was thinking is a monthly add each month as we're going to the spreadsheet. So you can see a cumulative through the year. So obviously next year would start with the new year. So that's what I was envisioning here.
have you looked at, do you have any sense with particularly one of the issues for all three agencies? Well, two of us in particular was the overtime costs. Do you have a sense of what our overtime costs are looking like even in these 2 months compared to what we were looking at last year?
I did not put that together. I did get financials from you through August for the other two agencies, but I'd have to basically make a hodgepodge of everything. And I can do that for next month for sure.
I think that would be helpful because I know that was one of our cost controls that we really needed to be watching and ensure we were containing our costs in that area in order to, with the changes made with on the Sagal side, with adding another captain and with West Side coming up in the wages. I know that was all contingent upon us ensuring that overtime.
So one caveat I will give is I do not believe that Sagal ever tracks Kerrywood and Sagal separately. So I can get I can get that total for them, but I
Yeah.
cannot separate it out. We are now tracking that separately, so you can see that by station. So that will be the only thing that I
Yeah.
know wouldn't be comparative, but I could definitely try to throw that in here and. Yep, okay, definitely that for next time with that. And if there's anything else you could think of that would be helpful
Okay.
in that, let me know.
Yeah, I don't think we need to get too detailed,
Right,
at least for
right.
West Side, but would that include all of September so we could have a full quarter to kind of compare?
So our year, our year end, our payrolls are every 2 weeks. And so how our year end works is that our last payroll will actually hit in October and we basically JV it back into September. We don't usually get that all the way done until October. So
Okay.
that one will be the only month that is way lagging versus all the other months are usually right on the end of the month. We can get that. So I could do at next month, I could do a projected and then a finalized if we want.
Let's just
Actually,
wait
next
till-
month, what I could do is do the overtime, add that all in there. And then the final one we can do in October, I'll definitely have all that JV back and everything. So
We're on a modified accrual accounting basis, so we're on a cash basis during the year, and then when we get to year end, we're on an accrual basis. So that's the adjustment that occurs
yeah.
after September 30th.
The other one is the Jpa Admin. This is the administrative cost. So we have some salaries and then we also have shared costs in here. So how I broke this down was we have talked about the city administration services, the financial services, central services. Here at JPA Administration Services is going to be basically Dale, Gavin, and Tammy's time. So the actual fire services outside of our city services, if that makes sense, because it also is city, but then going down is the different types of expenses as they hit the book. So our background checks, that was for new hires. We did hire in one new over in West Side or at the West Side location, but all those expenses now are running through Sandpoint and then dispersed back on our share allocation. So in the past, how that would have gone, that cost would have gone directly to West Side. They would have paid that cost for that new hire, all of the background checks, the equipment, the uniforms. How we have it here now is it comes in here. Doesn't matter where they are hired in at per se, the location, they're hired in as a firefighter. So that's why it's all going into these expenses here and then allocated back. The professional services, those are the services for the negotiations that we had. The wireless telephone, that is the cost for Gavin's wireless coming on. And in the past, West Side paid for your wireless services, so
Right.
that will be going away. This here will be Gavin's wireless, that it will be again distributed out on the percentage. Photocopies, those are minor. The meetings, those are Gavin's, the meeting to come back here when he came to get sworn in and that first meeting that he was here. The office supplies, just general, that was for office supplies to get going. So that was minor things. I think there was some, I don't know, office, what do you call that? Little glide pad that these go on out there, stuff like that. And then new hire expenses for uniform and then operational supplies. I think there was a helmet or something, some type of gear that was in the uniform, but it was not uniform. It was coded as that. But I do have detail on all that too. So if you guys need that or want that in the packets, I can get that more detailed. This is a higher level summary level. So again, I see this the same thing. I'll just take a cumulative, add the next month, every month to this. And then bill out on a monthly basis. Right now I have not billed any of this out because I wanted to show it to you guys first to see the kind of the setup of how it is, and then bill out through August this next week. And then September would be the final year end bill out for that 1 month. Again, happening later than normal, just because as bills come in that still hit for that fiscal year, they are accrued back into the fiscal year they are. So that final billing for the year would be a little later than normal compared to the rest of the months.
On the IT services, we're in the process of migrating over to Office 365. So there's some initial expenses with moving that over. We had left everything with fire kind of sitting where it was until we had decided what our structure was moving forward. Over here, everyone else is on Office 365, which gives us better communication capabilities. I know one of the things that we're looking at and going through and trying to get a better assessment is the inventory of all of the equipment and who has it. So I think the IT conversation will probably be a roll forward a conversation. As it turns out, I think there were a lot more devices with internet wireless connections and associated costs.
We did circle back on that, and we're going to disable a lot of those lines that were for the Sandpoint office. But the other offices are paying, or the other stations are paying their own for the wireless part of things. So
Yeah, all of Sagel's devices are on Sagel's bills. I know that. And the same with Westside, they've only got one. And so all
Okay.
that list that Sarah had that was Sandpoint stuff, we've only really identified one device that we know that we're, well, two, Ron's old one.
right, yeah.
And which I turned into IT a couple months ago, and the aerial's got one. Other than that, I don't know where they're, what those numbers are tied to.
Okay,
So we're going, yeah.
okay.
But
And
that
then we're
stuff-
consolidating servers too.
So that will be one thing that I'm working with Kevin right now for that needs to get added to this part, is that the servers need to get charged back here. But we're finalizing that with the IT cost. So really none of those IT costs. I think when I'm looking at the other stations expenses year to date, there was no cost for IT yet because they were we're waiting to figure out all the IT costs. So that needs to be figured out in this next month. Basically what I'm saying, you're going to have probably a cost in September for part of the year, or if not all the year of IT. So that has not been charged yet too. Because when Sandpoint.com went away, they stopped billing directly because they were billing directly to them, and they're not now. So that's part where Kevin's helping with on our end.
Okay. So uniform, we had a couple of conversations on uniforms. I know we had a conversation at one point about kind of a replacement and getting standardized and ordering uniforms in bulk across the three agencies, but where have we landed on uniforms?
I don't think we've really landed anywhere.
Okay.
What we need to do is the uniforms need to be purchased, and turnouts need to be purchased here, and then that cost share needs to go out using the same, well, the uniforms anyway, the same formula that we're doing for all the other cost sharing, in my opinion. It's hard to track them individually. Turnouts are a bigger problem because essentially the turnouts, Sagel wasn't purchasing turnouts as regularly as Sandpoint or Westside was. So there's going to be a greater need for people from Sagel to get more turnouts than there are Sandpoint or Westside. Westside, because they're all new employees, they were getting turnouts. Westside was buying their turnouts when they got hired. Unfortunately, the turnouts we were buying are garbage and they're not lasting. They should last 10 years or better, and in a couple of years they're coming back saying, I need new turnouts. They're ripping out, so they're garbage. So they've switched to a different brand. But in the last couple of years, with Sagel's budget, we've been telling them, no, you can't have them unless you absolutely have to have them. Where Sandpoint has been more on a 10-year cycle. They're 10 years old, you get new turnouts, and we've been buying more as of recently with Sandpoint than Sagel has. We haven't bought any. So we can't get the old Sagel employees caught up on the same level as Sandpoint is at right now. We don't have that money in the budget right now. However, I was telling Sarah this morning, the new construction costs and the calculations that come in, and it's quite a lot higher than I thought it was going to be in the budget. So we ended up, Sagal approved their budget without new construction costs in it. And I was assuming we're gonna get about 45, that's what we got last year. And the numbers that we've got right now, unless they change in the next week or so, actually shows Sagal getting $60,000 in new construction costs. So that's quite a bit higher than what we were planning. So the Sagal board has approved their budget with the new construction being added in, being split down the middle, with half of it going to the new tender they bought, and the other half going to PPE. I don't think they need $30,000 in new tender equipment, $30,000 in PPE. So the chief will have to decide very quickly how he wants to give the board, how they want to deal with that new construction money, because he's got to submit his final L2s to the state here within his first week. So I've got them all done. They're sitting there. He can look at them, agree to them, disagree, whatever, before he signs them and sends them in. But I've done them. They're just, look at that on Monday or Tuesday too. So they could, Sagal could, I think this year, probably use the extra money in the turnout category if they wanted to get a bit on a more even keel. And then going forward, once we need these new turnouts, it needs to be a cost share that's split in the same formula everything else is for the cost share. They got to pay catch up first.
Anything else on the financials or?
From my standpoint, unless any suggestions or anything more you guys would like to see, please let me know.
Okay,
I make a motion to adjourn.
we are adjourned. Yes. Sign off.